There's a new Grinnell College national poll, and according to the numbers, most people think that schools are on the wrong track here. Most people believe that educators do know which book should be in the school library, and most people don't want to see colleges use race as a factor for admissions.
Well, certainly the fact that Republicans overwhelmingly think that schools are on the wrong track leads to that high overall number. But still, we've got nearly 50% of Democrats who also say that schools are on the wrong track. I think this is just a consequence of a year's worth of attacks on the school systems as a result of COVID, as a result of race being taught in schools, and just a lot of pent-up dissatisfaction. Despite the fact that library books have gotten so much press attention, overwhelmingly people trusted schools to make good decisions about that. It was really race where opinion was divided. And we have a nearly even split here with about 40-some% of Americans saying that they just don't trust schools to make good choices about teaching race in the classroom.
Now then, there's the economy with this poll, even more concerns. Now you have gas prices coming down some, but they're still a lot higher than they used to be. Grocery prices are up. Only 27% of adults in this poll think the economy will get better in the coming year. That's down 20% from what they thought a year ago.
This time we measured the lowest number we've ever seen. Only 27% of people think that the economy will be better in 12 months from now. I think that reflects high levels of inflation, high gas prices, high prices at the grocery store. People are just really concerned about where the economy is. And I think the Ukraine conflict just unsettling everything adds to the general sense of doom and gloom we're seeing from the voters right now.
Speaking of Ukraine, that's where it seems to be a disconnect here. With Russia's attack on that country, 72% of the people polled here want the U.S. to arm Ukraine with weapons. 70% don't want President Biden to actually send our troops there. Although President Biden is doing what these people want, only 37% of them give him an approval rating for the way he is handling this attack on Ukraine.
By and large, Americans approve of exactly what the administration's policy is. They want to help, but they don't want to get involved. So they oppose sending troops. They oppose enforcing a no-fly zone. They do want to send weapons to the Ukrainians. And overwhelmingly, they're ready to accept Ukrainian refugees to the United States. Now, that's essentially Biden's policy, although we only have a trickle of refugees coming here right now. But what's interesting is that only about a third of Americans approve of the job that Biden is doing on Ukraine. So I just think that overall the news coming out of Ukraine is so gloomy right now that most Americans just think that whatever the president's doing, it's not enough.
But isn't that a pretty striking disconnect?
Well, I think we can look at the messages coming out of elected officials. Overwhelmingly, our elected officials have been saying that we need to stand up to Russia and Ukraine. We need to send weapons. We need to do more. And that message has been really pretty unified. On the other hand, we've heard a lot of Republican criticism about Joe Biden. So sort of the standard political attacks when it comes to the president, but a unified message on Ukraine policy. And I think that helps to account for the difference we're seeing in those numbers.
Numbers always fascinating. Up next, making history in her home state.